Yo guys, welcome back to a brand new video. Today, we are going to go over 7 different tips and tricks for Diablo 3 to improve your efficiency. Let's go ahead and dive right in with number 1. Typically, after people finish a Greater Rift, they pick up all the gear and then upgrade their gems. After they're finished upgrading their gems, they usually town portal out. The town portal takes about 5 seconds to get you back to town, and there is a trick to cut that time out of the Greater Rift. Let me go ahead and demonstrate. In this situation, I did not empower the Rift, but I also didn't die during the Rift, and so I have 4 total upgrades for my gem right now. Once you have 3 upgrades left, you can actually hit your T key to start town portaling back to town while simultaneously upgrading your gem. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. Okay, so I'm going to hit them both at the same time. I'm going to hit the upgrade gem button and T to start porting back to town. And as you can see, we got all 3 level ups, and we were also able to get back to town while doing them at the same time. Okay, so this next one is a tip, and this one is how you should be spending your time in this game. A lot of people spend their time going back and forth between bounties, rifts, and greater rifts, and just kind of do one of those 3 things over and over and over. Ideally, you should be spending as little time as possible running bounties. Among the 3 things, they're generally the least efficient thing that you can be doing. Far and large, the best thing that you can be doing in this game is running greater rifts as often as possible. So that means that running regular rifts just to get keys is a really good use of your time so that you can just be spending more time in greater rifts. Although bounty materials are really nice to have because you can reroll your legendaries in the cube, or you can craft certain items, it ultimately gives next to no experience. Bounty runs do not help you with your Paragon level at all. They might help you optimize your gear a little quicker, but at the end of the season, when you're making your push and you're trying to get onto the leaderboards in a good position, what you need to bear in mind is that the most important thing about your character at that point is going to be your Paragon level. Gearing up in this game is pretty easy, and so you don't really need to be spending time running bounties to get materials so that you can re-roll your legendaries in the cube. By simply running greater rifts over and over and over and over, you're going to get optimized gear without needing to do the bounties at all, and when you're ready to make that push at the end of the season, you're going to have a much higher Paragon level if you had spent your time in greater rifts as opposed to bounties. Okay, so for the next one, we're going to go ahead and look at the crafting materials in this game and just how valuable certain trash items are in this game. What I mean by trash items is basically any item that drops on the ground that you can equip to your character that is not a legendary or set item. In my inventory right now, I've got a bunch of gray and white quality items, a few blue quality, and a few yellow. In the cube, recipes 7, 8, and 9 allow you to trade these materials on a 1-for-1 basis. So, having known that, let's go ahead and find out how valuable it is to pick up trash items while you're going through a rift. In my inventory right now, I've got 8 gray and white quality items that are going to break down for reusable parts. Let's go ahead and see how many we get for that. We get 65 reusable parts. So on average, each item is worth about 8 to 9 materials each. If we break down these 4 blue items, we're going to get 11 arcane dust. That makes each blue item worth about roughly 3 to 4 arcane dust each. This is only about half of the material value that the gray and white quality items were giving to us. And lastly, we've got 11 rare quality items or yellow items in our inventory, and if we break those down, we're going to get 11, so they're only worth 1 each. So what that means for you is when you're going through rifts, bear in mind that although the rare quality items, which are the yellow ones, are technically better to put on your character than, say, a white quality item that doesn't even have any stats, it's generally far less valuable to actually spend your time picking up yellow items, and it's far more efficient to pick up blue items. And most efficient is, of course, going to be the gray and white quality items because they're going to give you the most materials, and again, you can trade them on a 1-for-1 basis in the cube. Okay, so for the next one, we're going to talk about spending time in town. In general, in Diablo 3, you want to be spending as little time as possible in the town. While you are in the town, you're not getting better gear, you're not gaining Paragon levels, and you're just not being productive in general. So if we go ahead and look at my inventory, I just finished running a Greater Rift, and this is all the loot that I got. This is a pretty normal amount of loot for running any Greater Rift 75 or higher. So what a lot of players will do when they finish a Greater Rift is they'll come out of their portal right here, they'll go over to the Book of Cain, wait, identify their items, they'll run over here, and they'll start looking at each one individually and breaking them down. Once you have finished a Greater Rift, this is the last thing that you should be doing. What you should be doing is immediately running down to Orek, closing the rift, and starting a new one. If you look in my inventory, you'll notice that if I run another rift right now, even without breaking down any items that we got from that Greater Rift, my inventory is going to have enough space to fill up another run's worth of loot without ever having to stop, go to town, identify my items, and break them down. So to maximize the amount of time that you are spending killing monsters and getting a stronger character, you want to be running back-to-back Greater Rifts until your inventory is close to full. That typically takes 2 Greater Rifts. Some players will even push it to 3 Greater Rifts before they go back and do anything in town, and they'll just skip some of the pieces of gear on the ground that they know that their character is not going to need. I would highly recommend that you start doing this because it really does increase your efficiency in this game. You're going to be getting more gear and more Paragon levels by spending less time in town. Okay, so now that we've gone over the fact that you do not want to be spending a lot of time in town, let's talk about what you should be doing when your gear is optimized. This is my Strafe and Pale Demon Hunter, and my gear is well optimized. I've got my Primal Dagger, I've got Quadfecta Primal Gloves, I've got a great Focus, Restraint, and a Squirts Necklace. Everything on my character is great. So when I get to the end of a Greater Rift, I've hit Paragon 3,214 so far this season, and getting better gear on my character is probably going to take hundreds of Greater Rifts and time wasted identifying items and looking over each one as I break them down. If I look into my inventory, I've got 50,000 Forgotten Souls. There is absolutely no way that by the end of the season, I'm going to need more than that. So this next tip is that when you have optimized your character's gear, which should not take you that long, once you have full Ancients and they're all augmented, at the end of rifts, you need to stop picking up gear and getting used to just running out, closing it, and immediately starting a new one. You would be absolutely amazed at how many more Paragon levels you will have at the end of the season by doing this. And the fact is, all that time that you're spending picking up that gear, even if you get, say, a 20 or 30 dexterity or vitality improvement, or maybe a 1% extra crit hit damage or something, once your gear is optimized, if you keep picking up gear just to go for these minor upgrades, the fact is that you're just wasting a bunch of time that you could be spending getting a lot more Paragon levels. The minor upgrades at that point from gear are not going to compare to the major upgrades that you're going to get by saving all that time and just spamming Greater Rifts and going for more and more and more Paragons. To dive into this a little further, let's go ahead and look at the number 1 Demon Hunter right now on the leaderboards in Season 27. If we look at this gear, this player does not even have an Ancient Bombardier's Rucksack, and yet this player is Paragon level 5,914. There is absolutely no chance that this player has not come across a better Bombardier's Rucksack. There is almost a 0% chance that one has not dropped that is at least better than this. So what I'm getting at here is that even though this player does not have perfect gear, they have a really high Paragon level because they spent a lot of time probably ignoring gear at the end of Greater Rifts so that they could simply close it, start a new one, and grind out more Paragons. Although your gear is really important in Diablo 3, it does not take that long to get good enough gear. So make sure that you're spending your time getting more Paragons and focusing less on your gear once you have optimized pieces. Okay, so the very last thing that I wanted to dive into is gambling. I see most players probably gambling at about this speed. If that looks like a pretty normal speed to you, you are not gambling fast enough. I know it kind of seems like a minor thing, but everything in this video is kind of just all about time-saving techniques, because in Diablo 3, the more time that you spend in this game, the stronger your character gets. And so you want to be maximizing your efficiency in every regard that you can. Ideally, you want to be gambling closer to this speed. That's significantly faster than the normal rate that most people are gambling at. The first time that I saw somebody gambling that fast, I thought that they were using some kind of auto clicker or some kind of program, because I did not think anybody could actually click that fast. So what I'm going to show you is how to gamble much quicker. What you want to be doing with your mouse is you want both of these two fingers sitting on top of your right click, and you want to be alternating them back and forth. You don't want to be sitting here with your mouse like this, where you're simply just click, 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 click. You want to be clicking with both of these fingers at the same time. It might feel a little awkward at first to start clicking like that, but you get used to it pretty quickly, and you'll realize that you're probably gambling at 2 to 2.5 times the speed that you were before. This game overloads you with blood shards. Typically, players are running 2 to 2.5, sometimes 3-minute greater rifts when they're trying to grind their paragons. And we get so many blood shards, so we're spending so much time at Kadala. So I would really recommend that you start to try to learn to click more quickly by using both fingers as opposed to just the one. I'm going to go ahead and just quickly add a few clips of me gambling throughout this season, and go ahead and compare it to the speed that you've been gambling at. Hopefully this can give you a little bit of perspective so that you can start to practice clicking quicker and getting more time in greater rifts to make your character stronger.
Do come back again. Do come back again. I cannot. What a steal. What a steal. What a steal.
Alrighty guys, those are all the tips and tricks that I have for this video. I really appreciate you for tuning in. If you have other time-saving techniques or other things that you do in Diablo 3 that could help other players, go ahead and drop a comment down below and let us know. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll catch you on the next one.